It's dangerous to go alone. Take this.
And welcome to Nerd Breaking News. We over here are ready to go ahead and start our chat on the top three Nickelodeon shows of all time. Towards my left, you'll see the kid. On my right is the professor. Towards the bottom right is the eagle. And we want to go ahead and give a warm special thank you to our special guest for today, Angelo. Welcome. How are you doing today?
Good. Thanks for having me, gentlemen. Appreciate y'all. Love the show. Big fan. And love the breakdowns and all that. So thanks for having me.
We're excited to have you because we definitely want to hear your opinion on the Nickelodeon shows, especially since the majority of us over here are in our 30s.
Oh, yeah.
We grew up in a special age of cartoons. We had Saturday morning cartoons, but I think everybody can agree that the best channel to watch cartoons was Nickelodeon. Yep. All right. But we're not just going to focus on cartoons. We're going to be focusing on just shows in general that we grew up with. So let's go ahead and start with our special guest. Angelo, go ahead and tell us, what is your first pick?
Oh, wow. My first pick for my best Nickelodeon show. Oof. Wow, there's so many to pick from. I would pick the one that's probably the most nostalgic for me, the one that's a little bit more personal for me, and that'll be Rugrats. It's got to be Rugrats, first overall pick. And I say Rugrats because, one, my sister name is Angelica, specifically from that show.
Nice.
Angelica, as you can see right there, right? Hey. And yeah, so needless to say, growing up, she would have birthday parties, and they'd all be like Rugrats theme related. So that one hits pretty close to home. And, you know, I believe they were probably the first one to have a feature film, too, which was really huge at the time. I mean, if any real Nickelodeon fans remember that orange Rugrats VHS tape, the orange tape, classic tape. I still got that hat. I'm going to throw that on for my son when he's old enough. I have a 2-year-old, by the way. So I'm going to throw that on for him when he's ready. So I got to start with Rugrats. Number one pick.
That's a great choice, actually. It is on my list, top three in the list that I have. Eagle, go ahead. What is your number one pick so far?
So, one thing that I had to point out, I grew up in the Dominican Republic, so not all the Nickelodeon shows were on the Dominican Republic, because what happened was that they had to get them in Spanish for them to play it on the Dominican Republic. So I think that what we got was like from Mexico, like the Nickelodeon that was playing on Mexico. But there is one show that was my favorite, and I know that it's going to be probably one of your favorites as well. And it's Hey Arnold. Hey Arnold was just like that show that you knew the exact time that it was playing on, and it didn't matter the episode. You would sit down. First of all, it was really educational. You would learn a lot, right? Even though it was about kids, and this kid's doing kid stuff. It was probably falling in love, playing baseball, but at the end of the day, there was something to learn about it. And it was how can I say this, like mature for the age, right?
Oh, yeah.
And then also, it was the fact that it didn't matter if I've seen the episode like 4 times, 6 times, 10 times. I would still sit and watch it. It would happen to me probably with other shows that I would be like, hey, listen, I've already watched this episode like 2 times. I would have had enough. But Hey Arnold, I never got bored. It didn't matter that I knew the lines, that I knew what was going to happen. To me, it was just like, it was home to me. That's how I felt. Yeah. Hey Arnold, in Spanish, they used to call him Cabeza de Balón. Helga, yeah, that's how they used to call it. And then, Helga is secretly in love with Arnold, but at the same time hating on him. if anything, it felt like, my daily routine in school, right? I don't know if the girl was in love with me, but they were definitely hitting on me. So that's how I related with the show. And I don't know about you guys, but Hey Arnold to me was the best show.
Also
in
had
my
the most
in my time.
iconic bedroom of all cartoon history.
Yes,
that iconic
very
bedroom
true.
with those skylights.
Facts.
Classic.
Yeah.
I always loved the grandfather. That grandfather was always hilarious.
Yeah, and I agree that they also had a lot of adult themes. It was a lot more mature show than the other shows on that block at the time.
Yeah, there was always like a lesson behind it. Yeah, there was always like a lesson behind every show we were watching, which was pretty cool.
Classic.
All right,
good pick.
Great pick. Kid, who do you got?
I'm gonna go
pick.
I'm gonna go a little outside the box here. I'm gonna say my next two to blow the professor's mind. I got something for you, Professor. But for now, I'm gonna stick with my cartoons, like the theme of what you guys have been going for. Angela, great pick with Rugrats. That's an historic show. If it wasn't for SpongeBob, Rugrat was the longest running cartoon show in Nickelodeon history. And of course, Hey Arnold is so legendary and what the kids call epic that I don't know anybody who's hating on that show. For me, I'm gonna go personal, right? Because it's subjective, and it's Doug.
Ooh,
it's Doug, and I think in hindsight, right, when you watch it as an adult, you're like, this kid's a loser. But my first memories of watching the Nicktoons and all that stuff was Doug, because it 6-7 years old, it resonated. Even at 6-7 years old, you have a best friend, Skeeter, the girl of his life, Patty Mayonnaise. You have that villain, Roger Klotz, who you can never get rid of him. You're a superhero. He's Godzilla. He's Quail Man. So Doug for me is it, because for me it was the idea of what he was going through. Right, he was a new kid in Bluffington. He had to learn all his friends, had to learn who he was becoming. He had a journal, even though I wasn't writing a journal. But it was the idea that what he was doing growing up. He was 11 years old. His sister was kind of neurotic, right? She was like this actress kind of chick. Parents were a little bit of a hippies. Who can't forget Mr. Dink? Very expensive, Douglas. It's unfortunate that only lasted 3 seasons, even though they made like 65 episodes. I think it was.
Wow, I didn't even know that. It seemed like
it was 3 seasons. It was 91 to 94, and then Disney bought it because Disney buys everything. I got to make sure they don't buy this.
We're next in the line.
Disney bought it, and then Disney. That's why it's called brand spanking new Doug, because it's Disney version of Doug. And supposedly Doug grew. They went to middle school in Disney's era, which is by then it was
so they went to high school.
I think it was middle school because he was in elementary school.
He knows because he was in 6th grade.
He was in junior high school in the original show.
He was junior high school.
5th grade. The last episode is 5th grade.
Either way, Disney ended the show.
Yes. Yeah. Either way, my pick is Doug. I think it's everybody had a crush, which Patty Mayonnaise. Everybody had a best friend, which is Skeeter. Everybody had a music, rock, whatever theme, whatever you like, the beats. Who didn't remember the beat song?
Killer Tofu.
Right? Where's my sock? Killer Tofu. Like I need more allowance. And it was just, I don't know, for me it's that pick, and I just think there's something personal that I went through or growing up that you resonated how Doug grew up.
All right, great pick. Professor, who do you got? Your number one pick.
If you go back to our childhoods, there's one anime that every young boy started with, Dragon Ball Z. But then Nickelodeon created Avatar: The Last Airbender, and then knocked Dragon Ball Z all the way to the corner. Avatar: The Last Airbender was so good that after that, they tried to find a way to add anime elements to American cartoons ever since. Avatar: The Last Airbender, y'all. That's the answer right there.
Oof.
Yeah.
He's hitting hard today.
Yeah.
Oh, you hit hard because that was the pick that I had, and I thought no one was going to pick it because honestly, the story that the Avatar has is one of the best stories told. And it is respected. It is respected to the point it's respected in the anime community. That says a lot because those people are very picky about the shows that they pick. I'm kind of in a bind right here because I'm not sure what I would go with.
And Avatar is so good. The spinoff was a win too. They won twice.
Yeah.
Facts.
The movie was,
and that was later on in
Don't talk about the
our
movie.
sort of
the movie was
cartoon.
movie was trash.
What
Yeah.
movie?
I didn't see the movie, but that was later on. That was later on.
We don't. Yeah, we don't talk about
in
the
our
live
life,
action
too.
that never existed.
It's like Bruno. Dude.
Well, you know what? I'm gonna go with another one from that era. I'm gonna go with Rocko's Modern Life.
Oof.
That was one show that I definitely tuned in a lot because it was just mad wacky, just plain no
Zany as
chaos
hell.
the entire time. I will never forget that one episode where Rocco lost his gas cap and had to go through the entire city, try to find his gas cap and get the certification at the DMV and all this stuff. And eventually at the end, there's a little girl that says, "Look, Daddy, that guy got his gas cap. It says that if someone gives their gas cap back, they get their angel wings." And the dad reply says, "Well, you know, that's kind of load up, and you can conclude the rest of it on your own." I thought I would die every time I was watching that show. So Rocco's Modern Life would be my pick.
By the way, shout out to the theme song. Loved it.
Oh,
Yes.
amazing.
Yes.
This is a hoot.
All right, so we have 5 picks now. We got Rugrats, Hey Honor Doug, Avatar, The Last Airbender, Rocco's Modern Life. Do you guys want to go ahead and add more on this list before we start voting on the top 3?
I think Rugrats is the clear winner, personally.
Out of that list that we just named,
We just named the list. Do you want to add 5 more?
I'll say
then pick our.
I'll save mine for round 2. But out of all those picks, has to be Rugrats.
It was the
Perfect. So
cornerstone
let's do-
of Nickelodeon.
So let's do one more round then. We will all pick another. It'll be another 5, so we'll have 10 shows in total, and then from there we'll go ahead and vote to see out of those shows who's the top 3.
Okay.
All right. So we started with Angelo the first time around. I'm going to give him some time to come around. Let's go ahead and go with the professor.
Nickelodeon shows again?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I think the only other show that I feel like we covered all the good ones. The only other show that I think might be left is like Clarissa Explains It All or something like that. That's
Classic. I watched it.
Yeah. We all watched it, don't lie. Yeah.
Oh, that was amazing. I love that show. All right, Ego, who do you got?
I listen, maybe because I watch TV like in the early 2000s, but there's probably 2 more shows. I'm only going to mention one of them, hoping that you.
No. If you got 2, why not? Maybe we didn't think of one. Do 2.
Okay, so I guess one of those shows that I watched a lot. It was always on a Nickelodeon. It was Rocket Power. You know, I just remember getting so excited because they were riding bikes, they were skateboarding, and they had like every different character, right? They had like the leader of the gang, who was Otto, and you know, he was the leader and at the same time not the smartest one, but the one with the greatest ideas. Then you had his sister. I don't remember her name. I want to say Reggie, maybe. I don't know. But the gang had different characters, and to me, what caught my attention was that they were like a bunch of, I guess, cool kids that were living like close to the beach, right? So they would surf, they would skateboard, and to me that was really interesting. But they would also ride the bikes, and I remember around that time, I had an obsession with being a BMX rider, and I dreamed of actually going to the what are the X Games? Is it where they actually compete? Right? Yeah.
Mhm.
So to me that was what caught my attention. The show wasn't necessarily like that good now looking back at it, but it was just more of the actions. They obviously got in trouble, and there was always something to learn from the show. But I remember like vividly like watching that show like all the time on repeat on Saturday mornings, like, and I thought it was good.
All
What
right.
was the other one? What was the other one you had? Just for curiosity.
The Fairy Oddfathers, was it?
Okay.
Yeah.
The
Yeah,
Fairy
I
Odd
watched that
Parents.
show a lot. It was crazy, but I watched it a lot. It was funny to me.
All right, Angela, let's go. What's your second pick?
So I'm gonna have to be the one to switch it up then, huh? I mean, everyone went cartoons. We're all talking Saturday morning cartoons, but
We got close to explain it all. We got close to explain
good
it
call.
all.
Good call. My bad. I missed it. You're right. You did. We're all talking about Saturday morning cartoons, but if you're a real Nickelodeon fan, you remember Snick, which was Saturday night. And on Snick, they used to give my favorite show, which spawned so many careers later on, which was All That.
Yeah.
All That was the cornerstone for Snick. And it started the careers of Kenan Thompson, who I think currently has the longest run of a SNL in history, if I believe so. Kenan Thompson, Kel, Amanda Bynes, Britney Spears' sister, Jamie Lynn Spears,
Nick Cannon.
I mean, show was like a living color for kids. You know, my parents didn't let me watch Mad TV because it was too adult themed. But I could watch All That. It was my Mad TV. It was my SNL, and it was Saturday night, just like SNL. So I got to go with All That.
Awesome, great pick.
Great pick,
kid.
I'm gonna steal a little thing from Raul here. I'm gonna do 1A, 1B. 1A, because Angela, you picked All That, right?
Yeah.
1A has to be Keaton and Cal.
Gotta be.
It has to be Keaton and Cal. Who loves orange soda? I love orange soda.
I do.
Yeah, I do. Like, they made a movie out of it. Once the series was over, like a TV movie, maybe a TV movie. Keaton and Cal. Listen, man, when you got Coolio in the mid '90s, they must have owed something to Coolio for do that, because he just did Gangster's Paradise, and you're not doing Nickelodeon shows. So Keaton and Cal was the equivalent of watching just All That, right? Like, you watch All That, that's the SNL version of kids. Keaton and Cal was like the legendary sitcom for kids that was cool because you knew the two leads, and there were two different leads, and they were always getting into these goofy shenanigans.
Yeah. And
what made it cool was it was a goofy world they were in. They didn't take themselves serious. It was, Keaton and Cal is has to be in everybody's top 3 list. It's just that what that show did for the 90s. 1B is the one that I'm gonna do a little curveball here. Nickelodeon Guts.
Sports show. Throwback. You went real deep.
And Slash Guts, the world competition. Remember when they had the United States and the other 3?
That's different than Double Dare.
Global Guts. Yeah.
I always get those two shows confused. Guts and Double Dare. Double Dare was also on Nickelodeon, right?
Double Dare was Nickelodeon. It was. It was the early '90s where the family competed against other families, and they all got dirty with the green ooze.
Mm-hmm.
Guts was the 3 different individuals, the sports participants, the green, the blue, and the red. And then if you win, you got to climb the Mount Argo, right, to get the prize at the end. And then eventually they did Global Guts, so they started competing against international kids. But Global Guts, as a bro kid from Miami, it just made you want to be going one of these gyms. It made you want to do these things, even though you're like, oh, I'm not the athlete that I think I am. It just I don't know. It was such a fun show because you wanted to be a part of that.
Yo, what was the show when they would do like they would ask a contestant something about themselves, and if you get it wrong, they would slime you. And it was
that's the one where it's something like the participants who were sitting down.
Yeah,
that's the one. That's the one where they have to picture there's like a phrase they have to get it right.
Yeah, or sometimes there'd be a contestant who had like a special talent, and you have to guess whether that talent was really theirs or not.
Yeah,
and they would hit them with slime. I can't remember the name of the show, but
I remember the name. And the kid from Pete and Pete who grew up, he was always there. Danny Tanarelli, whatever his name is, he was always in that show. Yeah, I remember that show.
All right, and then I'm going to pick my last pick, and I'm pretty sure you guys remember watching this one because you'll turn off your lights late at night, and then all of a sudden that campfire light will light up, and everybody asks, "Are you afraid of the dark?"
Classic.
Yes, sir.
Classic.
There was nothing like that show out there. It was one of those things that it was wacky and sometimes made no sense. But the entire time you are shivering in fear and you're hiding behind something because you knew there's something bad was going to happen. I love it. It's probably one of my favorite shows. Watching in my room with my brother nearby, and just watching him being a coward, and I'm making fun of him because of it, while I'm cowering myself, But Are You Afraid of the Dark is my last choice.
Yo, yeah, I remember Pete the plumber, the scary dude with the scary eyes.
That's from one of my favorite shows growing up. Salute Your Shorts.
Oh,
that episode.
Sure.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I got those mixed up.
Because remember that was Buttnick.
Yes.
Yes.
Wow, throwback.
Zeke the plumber, right?
Yeah.
And so the story was that whoever you dream of Zeke the plumber, and he's there flushing the toilet. Oh, dude, who didn't get nightmares of Zeke the plumber?
I still see that dude in my head. I still see that dude in my head.
And to Ye's point, and Are You Afraid of the Dark? There was the famous episode in season 1, which the only episode I remember because I was scared. The clown. You went to the to the fun house, and the clown was there, and I was like, all right. I just saw it for kids. I'm good.
Speaking of the episode of
and it was crazy.
That always creeped me out too. You remember that episode of Doug when they went to the fun house, the scary house?
That was
and there was like a clown. Mm-hmm. That episode as a kid really messed me up.
Yeah, of course, because they went to it was Halloween. They went to the haunted mansion, and it was the guy dressed in all black. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, that one freaked me out too as a kid. That's funny.
Jesus.
It was crazy because it was at the same time, outside of Nickelodeon, you had Goosebumps. They also had the same factor, and actually, that was a competitor basically for Are You Afraid of the Dark? I don't know. Definitely one of my favorite shows when I was younger.
By the way, part of the Snake lineup.
Right, sure was.
Mm-hmm. All right, so we name a couple of our shows out here to see which one was our kind of list of 12 now. Unfortunately, I kind of erased it by mistake just now and don't remember it. But we kind of have an idea what they were. So let's go ahead, based on all we saw right here, all the shows that we selected, which one do you think has that number 1 spot?
I think number 1's pretty hard. I think I'll just give my 3. I think
go for it. What would be your 3?
Because that number 1 spot, it's tough, man. Because for me, Rugrats has to be there for the sure level of respect. It has to be there. All that has to be there. And I think for me, I can't put Kenan and Cal because they're both the same, kind of more or less. I will put Hey Arnold, Rugrat, and all that.
In that order?
In whichever order you want to put it. But that will be the top 3 Nickelodeon's all-time shows.
All right, perfect. Angelo.
I think I have to mirror the kid. The only one I would probably replace is I probably replace even though it was my pick, all that was my pick. I probably replace all that with Avatar because Avatar was really a game changer.
Oof.
Just because I think we might have to do it for generations because there's original generation, there's V2. V2 is the rocket powers, I think I would have to keep his picks but just replace all that with Avatar.
All right, so your 3 pick will be Rugrats,
Hey Arnold, Avatar.
Oof. All right, perfect. Roll.
I wish I could expand my options, but I guess I'll go with Rugrats for sure. Kenan and Kel, man. Once you brought it up, I went back. I used to watch that all day, especially Fridays and Saturdays. At night, it was always there, and it was so fun. And Hey Arnold, that would be my top 3.
What were the top 3s one more time?
Rugrats, Hey Arnold, and Kenan and Kel.
All right, perfect. Professor, your turn.
Rugrats, Avatar, and then probably all that.
All right.
Yeah, that's my list.
I will go Avatar for number 1, all that number 2 for me, and Rugrats at number 3.
Hold on. Hold on. We have to talk about this for 2 seconds. We all chose Rugrats. I love it, by the way. I love it, by the way. I'm just saying that just shows you. But that just shows you. By the way, it was.
That's what I was going to do because right now it shows that Rugrats was voted the most at number 1, and number 2 is Hey Arnold, and then number 3 kind of falls to All That, and Avatar. They're both kind of tied right there.
Mm-hmm.
And I think those four actually are probably like as Angela was saying, like kind of generational in a way. Like you see a little bit of one and the other in each generation. So yeah. I think those were like really the top four, I guess now.
and what makes Rugrats so good is like you watch it, and as a kid it was funny, it was appealing, and then as an adult I watch it, and it still has jokes that appeals to me as an adult. Like it just runs the span. Like it's still funny on all levels. Stuff I didn't catch as a kid, I catch as an adult, and that's just good writing.
Yeah,
it was the first Nickelodeon show, original Nickelodeon cartoon show, because I think they used the rights for Ren and Stimpy, but Rugrats I think was the first one. That and Doug were the first original
original one.
So
yeah, from what I remember too. Yeah, exactly.
So it's just historic. It just and the cool thing about Rugrats is it ended in 2003, 2004. And it's still popular. It's still today, till this day. It was what, 20 years ago, and it was still popular. They made how many movies? They made the
premiere 91.
They made the when they were teenagers in middle school. Yeah, all grown up. I think it's called.
A lot.
And by the way, All Grown Up was pretty good. Usually spin-offs don't work. All Grown Up, I don't know if you guys watched it, but it was pretty good.
I saw a couple of shows.
I saw a couple of shows. It was interesting.
Yeah.
It was So it was like, to your point, it wasn't like, oh man, why did they do that? No, it was pretty cool.
It wasn't terrible.
And now they have a new version, right? A CGI version of Rugrats now for kids.
Yeah.
So
yeah. So here's a question I'm gonna ask. What about the sponge under the sea that lives in that pineapple? Where does that show fit? Because none of us mentioned SpongeBob SquarePants and brought him into that list. So where would that show, which is an iconic show of Nickelodeon, where would it fall if you were to compare it to our top four?
I'll say right now,
Hey Arnold,
I'll replace one of my shows just to get SpongeBob into my top three.
You won't?
Yeah. I will.
Okay.
Yeah.
So right now, right now we got Rugrats at number one, Hey Arnold at number two, All That and The Last Airbender and tied at number three. Where would you place SpongeBob SquarePants?
I never saw All That, and I'm sorry, guys. I was living back in the Dominican Republic. Like, we didn't have it. Okay. So I guess it would be literally, top four, right? After
but where would it be? Will you put it ahead of Hey Arnold for number two, or will you put it ahead of number one?
No.
Or will you put it at number three solidly over Avatar and All That?
I guess to answer that question is are we saying this objectively? Because if it's objective and not if it's objective,
it's subjective. It's subjective.
Okay,
it's your opinion.
Okay, because if it's objective, we can't deny the legacy of 20 years of SpongeBob.
No,
clearly, factually, we can't deny that. Subjectively, correct. There's people like who, I don't know, born in 95, 96, 97. This is their show. This is what they grew up with. This is their generation of what we were, the generation. So
I grew up watching the show because of my little sister. Yeah, that's what she wanted to see. You know, it's a 13-year difference between me and her. SpongeBob was the it, so I had to sit there and watch it with her, and honestly, it was entertaining. Yeah. I'm not gonna lie, I could binge watch that show easily.
So objectively, we have to include it because of the legacy of SpongeBob. Correct. Subjectively, if you tell me to remove any of my guys, I would consider moving All That, but I'm not removing Rugrats and Hey Arnold. I think those two are.
So you will put in number three for yourself.
Yeah. Objectively, I have to because of the legacy.
Subjectively, because the whole conversation today is our personal opinion. And
then I wouldn't.
You wouldn't even put it in the list.
I'll put it 5, 6, but I wouldn't put it top 3.
How about you, Professor?
I think that SpongeBob SquarePants came out in a certain sweet spot on television. It came out, I think, in a time period in which Nickelodeon was on a downward trend, and they didn't have a lot of really, really good shows on that were new during that time period. It fits right in this nice little middle period. I think a little bit before like Fairly Odd Parents, all that other stuff. If I'm
Jimmy
remembering
Neutron,
correctly,
yeah, around the same time.
Yeah.
I mean, all those
Yeah.
they hit their stride again like right after. I think that when you're looking at the totality of Nickelodeon's work, SpongeBob's actually one of the worst things they've ever made. I know I'm in the minority in that opinion, but I think almost every cartoon that they've made is better than SpongeBob SquarePants.
Wow.
There are so many cartoons to pick from Nickelodeon where if you did a head-to-head, they'd probably beat SpongeBob. That's my 10 cents. So where would I put SpongeBob on my list? Near the bottom, to be honest. I don't.
Right, so he's out. He's not even considered.
I don't get it. I just don't get it.
Dude,
No,
SpongeBob has, if you want to be objective, like the kid is saying, I would say that SpongeBob probably has more pop culture buzz to it than any of the shows we're discussing. Because SpongeBob there's a SpongeBob meme for everything. SpongeBob memes have gone viral multiple times. You know, pop culturally referenced. You could probably speak to if you take a picture of Tommy Pickles and you take a picture of SpongeBob and showed it to a 65-year-old person, they probably know SpongeBob. You know what I'm saying? Like pop culturally speaking, it rings more bells than a lot of the other shows.
So where would you put him subjectively?
I mean, I would still have it below the ones we discussed. Still, I would still have it under the ones we discussed. Yeah.
Look at Jay.
I would be the same.
There's a difference.
I would do the same. I will actually. I will put.
Not at the bottom.
Yeah, I will put the SpongeBob probably number 5, number 6 on my list. Yeah, I mean, because the top 4 have been amazing shows, but you know, I won't say SpongeBob was anywhere near them or anything like that, but it was still a decent show. I thought it was pretty funny, creative, and it was just absurd. You know, and that's something that I kind of grew up with, watching stuff like Rocko's Modern Life, Red and Stimpy.
Hold on, but can we make the same
weird shows?
But can we make the same argument? Because don't get me wrong, it's loony and it's goofy and it's out of this world. It's out of, it's out of the box thinking what they did. But couldn't we make the same argument reasonably that a show did it better 10 years before, and it's called Red and Stimpy?
Oh yeah, true. But I wasn't a fan of Ren and Stimpy. I didn't like it. Remember, this is subjective. I personally didn't like it. I thought it was dumb, and I didn't enjoy it.
No, but I'm not saying whether you liked it or not. I'm not saying whether you liked it or not. I'm not saying whether you liked it or not. I'm saying that I've seen, obviously, we've all seen episodes of SpongeBob. I've seen episodes of SpongeBob where I'm like, oh, this is funny. It's funny. Ren and Stimpy was not made for kids, man. That show was out of this world. Remember the whole the famous dance, Happy Happy Joy Joy? Go look at the lyrics. Google it. Go look at the lyrics of that song. I'll teach your grandma to suck eggs. Those lyrics are not for kids. That show.
There you go. That kind of shows you that me as a little kid, I didn't resonate with that. So that was the reason why for me, like Ren and Stimpy was never a top, not even a top 20 for me when it came to shows.
Which I think is fair, but I think when you're looking at the transition, right? You have Ren and Stimpy and you have Rocko's Modern Life, which I think is still very similar humor, but then just toned down a little bit. And then after Rocko's Modern Life, then you've got yourself SpongeBob, and I think there's like a little lineage there. But to me, when you're looking at when SpongeBob came out, who do they have to compete with? Like what other shows were on at the same time?
Was it Pokemon huge?
99. Yeah, Pokemon was huge in 99.
But Digimon? That's not Nickelodeon.
Digimon's around that time too.
I'm just saying.
Yeah, Nickelodeon, they didn't really have anything.
Oh, in Nickelodeon? Yeah.
This was like towards the end of the run for the Rugrats.
Hey Arnold.
Hey Arnold, 3 years in. So that was probably it.
That's a great point, Jay. I'll give you that.
Yeah. So what I'm really saying is, like, when you're looking at it, it's almost like when you have a chance. It's like Green Arrow back in the CW. There was a minute there where that was the only thing to watch in the CW. So you would ask those, hey, what's the best show in the CW? They would all say Green Arrow, even though there's nothing else there.
Oh Lord, don't get me. We'll talk about DC in another video, but just Jesus. One show, we didn't talk about. We all probably saw it. I don't know if Raul saw it because he's a couple years younger than us. Our Real Monsters.
I
which
forgot.
is also in that
that
lineage of
was
wacky
mine.
shows.
It's also in the time
Yeah.
frame which Jay's talking about.
Exactly.
That's a show.
That is true.
That's a show. And then Raul's probably saw this show. Raul, you probably saw Two Angry the Beavers.
Yeah.
Angry Beavers.
Cat Dog.
Yes.
Jimmy Neutron.
That's all V2. That's all
Jimmy Neutron as well,
Generation 2
That's
of-
all
of
2000,
Nickelodeon.
99, 2001.
Yeah, that's all Generation.
You know what? You know what was really a good one that I enjoyed a lot, but if a lot of people didn't like it, was the Wild Thornberry.
Yeah, that's all
I
Generation.
love that show.
I thought it was underrated.
Me too.
Yeah.
Wasn't Blue's Clues on Nickelodeon?
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh my
Nick
god.
Jr.
Yes.
Yeah.
Blue's Clues.
I think that
Yeah,
might
you
be
can't
it.
compete against Blue Clues.
You can't do nothing to compete
You
against
cannot
Blue
be. Yo,
Did you guys-
especially when Steve came back and did that video for all of us.
Dude. I was like, hey,
Yo,
dude.
I was in tears
Were we
because
too
I
old?
really was like, I missed my old friend
Yes.
in the chair. Oh my god.
Were we too old to say Drake and Josh?
I watched.
Yeah, I
it.
never watched
Yeah.
it.
I guess that's more Raul. Look at Raul's face.
No, listen. I watched some of it, but it wasn't moving the needle for me. Like it was like, okay, I'll watch it. There's nothing else to watch, but it's not like, oh my god, I'm dying to see what they're gonna do next. Like, nah.
Raul's ducktailing because his favorite Nick show was As Told by Ginger.
No.
Yo, underrated
No,
too.
no.
Another underrated show. I enjoyed that. Sold by Ginger.
He
You did?
was more of an iCarly fan. That's what.
Oh yeah. Raul's an iCarly fan. Oh, Jay, before
silly.
we gotta say this on air. The one that I said, oh my god,
Legends of the Hidden Temple.
Legends of the Hidden Temple.
Yep.
That was like the bootleg Indiana Jones one.
It sure was. I loved it though.
Nobody ever won, by the way. It's historic. They actually said that nobody's actually ever won that game.
Oh my god.
No,
Because
I've seen someone win.
every kid was
I've
a
seen
victim
someone
of
No,
it.
if they did, they tore that ACL. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
Was it name of the show? Legends of the Old Temple?
Legends of the
Hidden Temple.
Because remember, Angelo, because remember, if you win all those obstacles, you remember everything was color coordinated. The lizards, the
purple,
frogs,
the purple barracudas.
the barracudas. Yeah. Remember, if you what do you know about that, Raul? What do you know about that? Remember,
oh my god, it's coming back. Hell yeah.
still coming back to me. Anyway, Angelo, remember, dude, if you win the against the other teams, you go against the last obstacle of the day where the little talking head is talking.
I remember.
And remember, you have certain coins that you have to go through a 2-floor obstacle. And the problem is those guys with the spears, nobody ever got to the third one. I'm telling you, they did an article.
The changing monkey? Was it the changing monkey?
Correct.
You had to turn them around and put them.
Correct, because if you actually got to that point, you only have like 2 seconds left. And I'm telling you, again, I'm not a doctor, but there was so many injuries that I was like, yo, these people are falling down.
And that's probably a good point I was going to bring up. Like, they don't have any like children's like show. What are those game shows anymore? Like those obstacle course game shows that was really big in the 90s. None of those exist anymore.
What was the original? Hold on, guys. There was an original. This is like obviously before our time. Before Double Dare, like the one you mentioned, because we saw. I think I saw a couple episodes of Double Dare. There was a show. Oh my God, with Cuba Gooding Jr.'s brother, Omar Gooding, and he in the early 90s, and all he did was pranking people with color shirts.
Okay,
so I know what you're talking about. I
No.
don't remember the name though. Oh my God, I don't have the computer in front of me, but I know what you're talking about.
Look at the eagle down there watching the.
By the way, Jake, one of the worst shows.
I was.
Jake, can we talk about one of the worst shows in Nickelodeon history? Go ahead.
Let's go for it.
They brought back, or they did like a remake of the Legends of the Hidden Temple. It was on the CW, and they did it in 2001 and 2002. So they brought it back.
Oh Lord, nobody saw that.
And you can watch
Nobody
it on
did.
Paramount Plus if you're interested.
Nobody has that.
One of the worst shows in Nickelodeon history. Hot take. My Cousin Skeeter.
Never saw it.
I never saw it. That kind of says a lot.
What was it about?
It was it had that.
Yeah, it was the puppet. He was the puppet, a black puppet.
Yeah,
and it was with the dude from the other show from I can't remember his name, but I remember it.
It had Megan Good. That's all I know. Yeah, that show was but yeah.
Yeah, perfect. So let's go ahead and end it here. Thank you so much for tuning into our show. Why don't you go ahead and go down there, leave a comment, tell us what are your top 3 picks of Nickelodeon shows of all time. This is once again Nerd Breaking News. What special thanks to LAMEBOT, who is the musician behind our music. Till next time, guys, have a great day. Take care.
Bye. See ya.